My name is Abigail. 2 years ago, I married Ike, who was my colleague at work and 1 year older than me. Now, Ike and I live happily together. I quit my job and became a full-time housewife after getting married. It was my husband's wish for me to stay at home, and I didn't have a strong desire to continue working either. I also enjoyed doing household chores, so I became a full-time housewife as he wanted. Even after 2 years of a marriage, Ike and I get along well every day, and I have no complaint about our relationship. However, I have one source of concern. It's my husband's sister, my sister-in-law. She is incredibly beautiful and intelligent, the kind of person who fits the description of beauty and brains that people often use. When I first visited my husband's parents to introduce myself, she approached me very friendly, and at that time, I thought we could get along well if she were my sister-in-law. But one day, everything changed. It happened when I mentioned the university I graduated from to my sister-in-law. "Hey, Abigail, you and Ike work at the same company, right? I don't really know, but where did you go to university?" "Me? Well, I went to a university." I answered my sister-in-law's question with a smile. "A university? No wonder you have such a dull face." Just because of my alma mater, she looked down on me. At first, I thought maybe I was overthinking, but from that day on, my sister-in-law's attitude towards me completely changed. Every time we met, she belittled me and started boasting about herself. "I knew it. You went to a low-level university like a university, right?" "Well, I had imagined it. I mean, I had good grades and I'm good looking, you know? So, I was really popular in college, and I even had fan clubs. Not that I cared about them, though. I have to listen to such bragging every time. I had heard from my husband before that my sister-in-law looks down not only on him, but also on other people. And she's the kind of person who can't be satisfied unless she's the best. However, when I first met her, she seemed very friendly and kind, so I never expected things to turn out like this just because of mentioning my university. I was truly shocked. In the end, it turned out that she was only hiding her true nature when we first met. Every time I visited my in-laws, my sister-in-law would belittle and mock me. Seeing this, my husband spoke up. "That's going too far. It's not right for someone to say such things as a human being." However, even when her own brother told her that, it seemed to have no effect on my sister-in-law. "Huh? What? I don't want to be lectured by a stupid brother." She even looked down on my husband. "You're dumb and low level, so it's no wonder you work for some unknown company." "If only my sister knew the company I work for." Before my husband could finish his sentence, my sister-in-law interrupted him. "Hey, by the way, Atka also met Ike at the same workplace, right? Well, the couple is a pair of incompetents." She laughed out loud. Seeing this, my in-laws reprimanded my sister-in-law. "That's enough. Apologize to Abigail." "If you want me to apologize, at least make more money than me." Instead of apologizing, my sister-in-law left the room. My in-laws sighed and apologized to me multiple times for her behavior. On the way back from my in-laws' house, I asked my husband in the car, "Hey, has your sister always been like that?" "Yeah, by the time I became aware, she was already like that." According to my husband, my sister-in-law had always been smart and attractive. As a result, she had been excessively praised by those around her, and it led to her developing a personality where she couldn't be satisfied unless she was the best. Because of that, my husband had always been treated like a servant, and he said he had never been cherished as a brother. It continued to be tough. Since she started looking down on me, my sister-in-law started disliking me, and she didn't even attend our wedding. Your low-level wedding is nothing to brag about. She canceled at the last minute with such a reason. However, at that time, my sister-in-law was still unmarried and living with my in-laws, so we inevitably had many opportunities to face each other. Every time I was looked down upon and had to listen to her boasting. Honestly, I had grown tired of my sister-in-law's attitude, and I gradually became reluctant to visit my in-laws. Seeing this, my husband suggested, "Let's take a break from going for a while," and my in-laws agreed. However, as soon as I stopped going to my in-laws' house, my sister-in-law started calling and messaging me frequently. I deeply regretted exchanging contact information with her when we first met. The content of her messages was essentially the same as what she talked about when we were at the in-laws' house. Working for a prestigious company, being busy with work, and constantly being relied upon by others. She would persistently contact me just to share her bragging stories. When I purposely ignored her calls, she would send me messages online, accompanied by photos of luxury brands, one after another. "I bought these new items. Abigail, as a housewife and Ike being poor, you can't afford them, right?" She would simultaneously boast and look down on us as a couple. "That's nice. Oh, are you jealous? If you don't mind having my used and worn-out things, I can give them to you, you know?" With such frequent exchanges, I finally reached my limit and spoke directly to my sister-in-law. "I'm sorry, sister-in-law. I'm also busy with household chores and other things. So, could you please refrain from calling or messaging me?" "Huh? Aren't you a housewife? You must have plenty of free time, right? Can't even manage your household chores properly? You're really low level. It's laughable. Having you as a sister-in-law is such a disappointment." She began to deny my very existence. I told my husband about this when he came home from work, and he became furious. He took my phone and blocked all incoming communications from my sister-in-law. Although I felt somewhat sorry as she was technically my sister-in-law, my husband told me, "You don't have to put up with it anymore." So I relied on his support. For the next 2 weeks, it was the most peaceful time for me. However, such happiness was short-lived. While my husband and I were enjoying a leisurely breakfast, my sister-in-law showed up at our house. Seeing her, my husband became extremely annoyed. "What do you want, sis?" "What's with that attitude? I came because I have something important to discuss." "Something important?" "I'm getting married, you know." She showed us the engagement ring she had on her finger. It had a very large diamond and looked expensive at first glance. When my husband and I congratulated her, my sister-in-law grabbed my left hand. "So, this is Abigail and Ike's ring." She stared at our wedding rings intently. Then she took off the ring from my finger and sneered. "Looks kind of cheap, doesn't it?" Indeed, our wedding rings were simple and didn't have a large diamond or anything like that. But this ring was chosen together with my husband after careful consideration and deliberation. It had great sentimental value to us. To dismiss it as cheap with a single word made my anger surge. You should have gotten a better one, but I guess that's impossible with your low income. To make matters worse, she forcibly took off the ring from my finger and threw it into the trash can. Hey, what do you think you were doing? I couldn't help but raise my voice and immediately started rummaging through the trash can to find the ring. My sister-in-law watched, laughing. Ugh, so dirty. Even my husband, who is usually composed, became furious at my sister-in-law's outrageous behavior. Cut the crap. Just leave already. Hey, that hurts. But whatever. I'll leave for today. I'll come again next week with my fiancé. Laughing, my sister-in-law left. Despite the situation, she showed no remorse or hesitated to leave. Please, just go home. I pleaded with tears in my eyes. Why are you crying? It's so amusing. Well, whatever. I'll leave today. I'll come back next week with my fiancé. Laughing, my sister-in-law left. Until now, I had managed to endure my sister-in-law's behavior, but today's incident was unbearable. My precious memory with my husband, even the ring, were treated with such disrespect. I had truly reached my breaking point. A week later, as scheduled, my sister-in-law and her fiancé came to our house. Both my husband and I had hoped for someone who could have a sensible conversation and not have the same personality as my sister-in-law, but our prayers were in vain. The fiancé turned out to be just like my sister-in-law, starting with boasting about his company and going on about how intelligent and popular he had always been. Now, you see, we are the upper class. Amidst her self-aggrandizement, my sister-in-law showed her fiancé with excessive praise. So, you guys also met at the same company, just like us, right? She told me, but meeting and marrying at an unknown company isn't that embarrassing to live with? Sister-in-law added a sarcastic remark to that. Hey, you shouldn't say the truth like that. It's pathetic, you know? The two of them laughed uproariously. In that moment, my feelings towards my sister-in-law suddenly turned cold. Until then, I had regarded her as my beloved husband's sister and thought I should cherish her. But I had reached my limit. I couldn't see someone like her as my sister-in-law anymore. To these people, intelligence, appearance, and working for a prestigious company were the only things that held value. I realized that. I exchanged a glance with my husband and he spoke up. You mentioned earlier that you work at ABC Holdings, just like your sister, right? Oh yes, it's quite famous, so you must know the name at least. Smirking, the fiancé laughed with contempt. Without hesitation, I responded. Is that so? Thank you for always taking care of us. At that moment, my sister-in-law and her fiancé seemed confused, with question marks floating above their heads. That's when my husband handed his business card to the fiancé. My sister-in-law and her fiancé were wide-eyed as they looked at the business card. Wait, you work for CCJ Group? The fiancé couldn't hide his agitation. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, laughed with contempt. Why are you so surprised? My brother is a stupid idiot working for an unknown company. Didn't I tell you before? What are you talking about? However, the fiancé became incredibly angry with my sister-in-law, his anger evident in his stern tone. Indeed, it's no surprise. The company my husband works for, CCJ Group, is a major corporation and has business dealings with ABC Holdings, where my sister-in-law and her fiancé work. Since my sister-in-law was just a receptionist and didn't know the details of the company's operations, She had no idea that my husband's company was a client of hers. On top of that, she had been telling her fiancé that it was an unknown company, implying that it was a minor enterprise. Upon learning that my sister-in-law knew nothing about my husband's impressive workplace, she unreasonably lashed out, saying, "I never heard about that." "Just because you didn't know the name of my company, you looked down on us unilaterally." "What's the big deal now?" My husband coldly pushed my sister-in-law away. The fiancé immediately started bowing and apologizing repeatedly to me and my husband. Watching this, my sister-in-law clearly became displeased. She had wanted to boast about her fiancé, but it ended up like this. She was frustrated that she couldn't be the center of attention. Now she turned her focus on me. "Even if Ike is amazing, I'm not. In the end, I quit my job and became an incompetent housewife, right?" "Well, as your sister said, that's true. I'm currently a housewife, and all I can say is that I'm the daughter of the president of my husband's company." "Daughter of the president? Are you kidding?" My sister-in-law suddenly began to panic. Seeing her like that, my husband affirmed it. "Why didn't you tell me?" I had been told by my husband to keep it a secret. It would have been evident if she had attended our wedding, but she canceled at the last minute, citing some feeble excuse. Enraged by my sister-in-law's past behavior, the fiancé's face turned red with anger. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, looked stunned as she searched for information about my father on her phone. At the very end, I revealed an important fact to my sister-in-law. "Sister-in-law, let me tell you something. My husband holds a position in my father's company. I believe his salary is much higher than yours. Well, money isn't everything, though." My sister-in-law turned pale and looked down. "Not only me, but even my husband was looked down upon. I still hold a grudge, and I'm not over my anger yet. If this continues, I get irritated to the point of losing control. Could you please leave?" I smiled, and the two of them hurriedly fled from our house. Witnessing the pitiful state, my husband and I burst into laughter. "Abigail, you are amazing. It feels so refreshing to be able to speak my mind. Thank you." Hearing that from my husband, I couldn't help but feel proud. I had never thought being the daughter of a president was a good thing, as it often led to distance from others. But this time, thanks to that, I was able to turn the tables. A few days later, my sister-in-law and her fiancé came to our house to apologize. "We are sorry about what happened the other day, especially to the president. It would be troublesome if we lost the business relationship." As the fiancé bowed and apologized profusely, we didn't deliberately say, "Okay, we forgive you," with a smile on our faces. They had belittled us so much, and now they conveniently wanted to be forgiven. It was too convenient for them. So my husband and I deliberately responded that way to make my sister-in-law and her fiancé feel uneasy. As a result, their relationship worsened rapidly, and ultimately, the engagement that was underway was called off. My sister-in-law, feeling awkward about being in the same company as her fiancé, quit soon after. As for the fiancé, he was worried that the cancellation of the business deal with my husband's company would be his responsibility and cause trouble for him. Unable to bear that anxiety, he ended up quitting the company himself. My in-laws kicked out my sister-in-law, who was planning to live with them again, and now she works part-time while struggling to make ends meet. It's not good to look down on or belittle others. This is something even children understand, but it's unfortunate that some adults still don't get it. What you do to others will come back to you eventually. This incident clearly demonstrates the consequences my sister-in-law brought upon herself.